What's up everyone, welcome back to a new video. If you're new around here, please make sure to like and subscribe down below. So, last night we had another slew of primary elections, which the results, they really shouldn't be all that surprising. Donald Trump swept every single state that we had, which we had Wisconsin, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and New York. Trump swept every single one of them. We had Delaware, but for whatever reason, Delaware is not showing up here on the map, which I find to be rather pathetic, because I know that Delaware had their primary last night, unless it was a convention or something. But, on another note, aside from these primaries, there are a few things I want to talk about. Well, yes, Biden definitely overperformed in New York. He did not get close to his margins, and same goes for New York. Trump did a little bit worse than Biden in a lot of these states last night. However, honestly, I think the biggest difference was the state of Wisconsin, because Wisconsin is where you have a lot of the most white working class voters that vote primarily based on the economy. Wisconsin's going to vote almost the same way that Michigan is going to vote come November. So if Trump's winning Michigan, he's going to win Wisconsin. I think that's pretty much set in stone at this point. But if you look at the difference, the Democrats in total, they got around 30,000 less votes than the Republican side. Now, this should be a wake-up call to Biden, because he didn't crack 90%. 48,000 people, or 48,000 voters, went uncommitted in the Democrat primary, also known as uninstructed. That's Wisconsin's way of putting the uncommitted vote. So, do you think those uninstructed voters, or those Dean Phillip voters, are really going to break and vote for Joe Biden at the end of the day? I've answered this question already in one of my previous videos, but honestly, I really don't think so, based on the way Biden handled the entirety of the Palestine conflict, along with the Ukraine war and all of those other conflicts, is what led the fourth protest vote against Joe Biden. We saw it in Michigan first, then several states on Super Tuesday, and now we're seeing it here in the state of Wisconsin, which wasn't really all that much of a surprise. But aside from Wisconsin, all of the other races were not really all that surprising, other than Connecticut counting like molasses again. Yes, they counted really, really slowly. Hartford had very few voters around the Hartford area, the Hartford suburbs. Hartford was really the only one of them that really had a small margin in terms of the metro areas, which I kind of thought to be rather surprising. But aside from that, it's just showing that voters may not be nearly as eager to come out and vote to give Donald Trump, or not Donald Trump, but to give voters, and Connecticut's a closed primary. Independents make up most of the Connecticut electorate. Same goes for Massachusetts. So it's very possible that these margins were lower because the independents can't come out and vote. So that could be a wake-up call for the Democrats. But if I'm being totally honest, Biden did a lot better in the Connecticut primary compared to Donald Trump. Now, honestly, I don't think this is a warning sign for anything bad coming, but we got to analyze this a little bit, because so many people are getting the wrong take that Trump's going to lose in a landslide. No, that's not true at all, because Donald Trump was never going to win the state of Connecticut anyway at the end of the day. But where it really matters is the state of Wisconsin, because at the end of the day, the state of Wisconsin is definitely going to be one of the battleground states that determine how the elections come out. And plus, I think the biggest thing that's worth talking about are the ballot questions, which both of them I did support, but one of them was to stop private funding for elections from private entities like Mark Zuckerberg, who runs Facebook and Instagram and all those other social media platforms, and Elon Musk, who runs Twitter, also known as X. But in reality, Democrats could make the case that they don't want Elon Musk funding elections in the state of Wisconsin, and Republicans could make the case that they don't want Mark Zuckerberg funding the results of an election influencing the result of an election outcome in the state of Wisconsin. Now, question 2, This one passed a little bit more easily or with a wider gap, but I think the reason for that, if I'm being totally honest, is because question 1 had a lot of people like iffy, or a lot of voters iffy if they should vote for it or not. But question 2 should have been a slam dunk, and it was a slam dunk, because at the end of the day, only election workers and supervisors and volunteers and state officials should, at the end of the day, be administering the state's elections. Now, obviously, we know this for a fact. You cannot predict an election using question polls like this, but it could be a sign of what's to come. Now, do I think Trump's going to win the state by 8 points? Absolutely not. But do I think that he could win the state by like 2 to 3 points? Definitely. And there was another thing that I wanted to bring up regarding the state of Wisconsin that happened last night that I thought was actually rather surprising and great at the same time. Another thing that also happened last night is Donald Trump gave Eric Hovde his complete and total endorsement. I know it's pronounced Hovde, but I've always pronounced it Hovde because that's just how my culture has done it. But this is good news for Wisconsin. In a moment, I'll let you hear what he has to say, but in reality, this is good news mainly because it's going to create the race essentially uncontested, because now that Trump has endorsed Hovde, it's not going to incentivize David Clark to jump in the race, and if David Clark did jump in, it would create a huge, chaotic primary, which we don't need if we want to take out Tammy Baldwin. Baldwin is already popular as is. If we're going to take out Baldwin, we need somebody who's going to be able to go through the primary and win it with ease, without a lot of money. Then when we get to the general, we need to be able to spend as much as we need to be able to defeat and get as close as possible to defeating Baldwin. And divisive primaries is just not the way to do that. It really is not. But anyway, let's take a listen.
Complete and total endorsement. And a man who's doing really good. He's just about even in the polls. I see it. He's a handsome devil. I just met him backstage. And a beautiful wife, a beautiful family. U.S. Senate candidate Eric Hovde. Eric Hovde. Where's Eric? Eric, good job. Man, I tell you. Eric, I met Eric and I've studied Eric because we have to get it right. And running against some very fine people, really. But I've looked it out, and they're going to have other opportunities. Eric, I am giving you my complete and total endorsement. So go out and win. Go out and win. Go.
So yeah, there's the man himself giving his, as what Trump said, his complete and total endorsement. Now, will that necessarily play out well in the state of Wisconsin? Yes and no. It will play out and help him in the primary, but it may or may not help him in the general election. If Trump goes out there and wins the state of Wisconsin by about 2 to 3 points, he will carry Eric Hovde over the line, and Eric Hovde will take out Tammy Baldwin, as the polls are showing a very, very, very close race between the two. Hovde entered the race in January and has been gaining ever since January. Now, at the end of the day, I think Republicans should put more money at this seat than what they're going to be pouring into Pennsylvania or into Maryland, for that matter, because Maryland is not as winnable as the state of Wisconsin, Oh, and another thing. I know I'm kind of going all over the place, but if we look at this here, the Republican National Committee, now this is huge, because the Republican National Committee now has $93.1 million on hand. When Ronna Romney McDaniel left the post, they had around $12 million on hand, around there. I don't know the exact number, I can't remember the exact number off the top of my head, but it was around $12 million. Now, $12 million may seem like a lot of money to the average day citizen, But if you want to win elections, you need to have more money on that. So it proves that Chairman Michael Whatley and Lara Trump was the change that we needed, and people are out there blaming Trump for the GOP losses. The same people are blaming Michael Whatley and Lara Trump for our possibility to sabotage the RNC. But I don't think we're sabotaging the RNC. I think we are actually raising cash, and we are going to win. I really do believe that. And here is what I said about the Hove Day Trump endorsement. While polls show he will lose to Baldwin, that should not discourage him. The polls are within the margin of error and anything can happen, but the Trump endorsement does a significant boost. It will work significantly in the state of Wisconsin, for sure. Now, with that being said, do I expect Hove Day to win? I expect him to lose by like 1 to 2 points, but he could win. No, I'm not saying that he is going to win. He's not favored to win. If Tammy Baldwin was not running, he would be the favorite to win the seat. But at the end of the day, it's just not possible at this point. Well, it is possible to win, but it's just not possible to clearly go out there and say he's the front runner until after we pass the primary. But considering that we'll be removing the reasoning for David Clark to want to enter because Donald Trump has already stepped foot and endorsed his candidate, that we will be able to create a more streamlined path again for Hove Day to go out there and set the stage between Baldwin and Hove Day, because Baldwin is already the Democratic presumptive nominee as far as I'm concerned, because nobody else really stands a shot at taking her out in the primary. So that is essentially that Senate race, and the cash advantage will definitely be a significant help to us taking back the White House and winning in November. So that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, please make sure to like and subscribe down below. And if you have any feedback, questions, comments, please let me know down in the comments. I will read each and every one of comments, just like I always do. And with that being said, enjoy the rest of your day.